Welcome to Developing Multi-Leveled Instruction. Just as everyone has a unique fingerprint, every student has an individual learning style. Not all of your students grasp a subject in the same way or share the same level of ability. So, how can you better deliver your lessons to reach everyone in your class? Remember, one size doesn't fit all, every child is unique. What is differentiated instruction? It's teaching the same materials to all students using a variety of instructional strategies or developing lessons at varying levels of difficulty based on the ability of each student. Teachers who practice differentiating instruction may design their lessons on students' learning styles, group students by shared interest, topic, or ability for assignment, assess students' learning using formative assessments, manage the classroom to create a safe and supportive environment, or continually assess and adjust lesson content to meet student needs. So, some benefits of differentiated instruction. Research shows that differentiated instruction is effective for high ability students as well as students with mild to severe disabilities. When students are given more options in how they can learn material, they take on more responsibility for their own learning. Students appear to be more engaged in learning, and there are reportedly fewer discipline problems in classrooms where teachers provide differentiated lessons. 4 ways to differentiate instruction. 1 is the content, 2 is the process, 3, product, and 4, the learning environment. Remember, every child has a different learning style and pace. Each child is unique, not only capable of learning, but also capable of succeeding. So, 4 ways to differentiate instruction. Number 1 is the content. Content is the designed activities for groups of students that cover various levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Remember, the 6 levels are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Students who are unfamiliar with a lesson could be required to complete tasks on lower levels. They would use remembering and understanding. Students with some mastery could also be asked to use the apply and analyze the content. And then students who are high level of mastery could be asked to complete tasks in areas of evaluating and creating. So some content examples you can use is have the students match vocabulary words to definitions, maybe read a passage of text and answer related questions. They could think of a situation that happened to a character in the story and then give you different outcomes. They could differentiate fact from opinion in a story, identify an author's position and prove evidence to support the viewpoint, or students can create a PowerPoint presentation summarizing the lesson. The second way is process. Each student has a preferred learning style, just as you and I. There's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and read and write. So remember that the process related method also addresses the fact that not all students require the same amount of support from the teacher, and students should choose to work in pairs, small groups, or individually. Some students may benefit from one on one interaction with you or the classroom aide. And some examples you could use to help with that process would be provide textbooks for visual and word learners, or allow auditory learners to listen to audiobooks. Some examples you can use as far as visuals in the room, you could use posters, post-it notes, color coding, charts, tables, and graphs, YouTube clips, note taking, and then photos or flashcards. Remember, when I see it, then I understand. Another example of ways to help with the process for auditory learners is listen to audio tapes, reading aloud to themselves, following verbal directions while not appearing to be listening, or sounding out words, music or singing, or oral discussion. The kinesthetic process examples would be let them walk around the room, let them stand while they're working at their desk, let them use body movements for expression, acting and playing roles, volunteering to demonstrate or run errands, or field trips. A third way of the 4 ways to differentiate instruction is the product. The product is what the student creates at the end of the lesson to demonstrate the mastery of the content. Remember that the product is what the student creates, and this can be in the form of tests, projects, reports, or other activities. You could assign students to complete activities that show mastery of an educational concept in a way that student prefers based on their learning style. So there's 4 ways: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, read and write. So some examples of a product is they read and write learners, the read and write learners write a book report. Your visual learners would create a graphic organizer of a story. Your auditory learners would give an oral report. And kinesthetic learners can roll an action play to illustrate the story. Just kind of put yourself in their shoes. How do you learn? You might have a different learning style, so they do as well. So these are 4 examples. The fourth one is your learning environment, and that's the way the classroom works and feels. Remember that the classroom can be a makeup of physical and psychological elements. So, a flexible classroom layout is key, incorporating various types of furniture and arrangements to support both an individual or a group work environment. Teachers should use classroom management techniques that support a safe and supportive learning environment. So, you want to make sure that they have a quiet work area, your routines are in place, materials that reflect diverse cultures, various types of furniture and arrangement to support both individual and group work, and then a safe and supportive learning environment. So, examples for the learning environment: you can break some students into reading groups to discuss assignments, allow students to read individually if preferred, create quiet spaces where there are no distractions. The next slide, I put in an example of how you would possibly write your IEP to document also sometimes in your lesson plans of differentiating instruction for your multi-level learners. And in this example, in this teacher's classroom, there's more than one student on what they're showing to differentiate the assignments. So let's look at an actual learner objective, and this is how you would address it as well. This is a 4th grade classroom in the subject science, so you see where they've got the learner objective in there, and then the activity the students will perform. To the left of the documentation, they have the student's name, and then they also put in the accommodations and modifications exactly how they are differentiating the instruction for that student according to their learning ability or what they prefer. So, again, remember, it's important for you to keep your eyes and ears open when using differentiated instruction because you want to constantly monitor and access how your efforts are affecting each student. It takes a lot of planning, but with continuous assessment and varying strategies, you'll be able to accommodate all the learning styles of your students. Remember, put yourself in their shoes. Which way do you learn? You want to teach to them the way they learn. So remember, as in closing, every child in your classroom is someone's whole world. So to have a successful classroom and a great year, remember the 4 things here at the end. Create a differentiating learning environment, prepare thoughtful lessons backed by your data, tailor assignments based on student learning goals, and adjust your lesson content based on each student's needs. Have a great year.